Hello, I'm Nitin Dahad with Aspen Core Media, and I'm here with David Spragg from Arrow. David, hello.
Hi, Nissan.
So the electronics industry is going through some interesting times at the moment, and we're seeing lots of things exploding. And can you tell us of some of the sort of key technology trends you're seeing?
Yeah, it's interesting, Nitin. I think this isn't, you say exploding, but actually this has kind of been building. I think if you think about Moore's Law and the improvements and different materials that are now available, we've been steadily reaching this point. But to take a think back over the last couple of years, the changes in display technology, the changes in low-power wireless technology that have enabled IoT, and all those geometry changes that have meant that more and more processing can be achieved with a smaller and smaller space at a lower and lower power, which now means we're right on the cusp of a couple of very different things, actually. From the materials point of view, we've seen the development of wide bandgap power technology, such as silicon carbide and gallium nitride, which is going to enable a whole load of new applications. And then at the other end of it, from the processing point of view, we've seen these very high performance processors, multi-core processors be developed, which are now enabling real AI and machine learning applications to be performed. So that's the point that we're at, and that's what's really exciting, is suddenly the technology's reached the point where things which were possible with supercomputers are now starting to be possible at the edge.
So how is Arrow riding that technology wave and starting to support some of the requirements of the industry in this?
Yeah, that's interesting, and we've evolved, and this shows an interesting little microcosm of that here in Embedded World. If I think back 5 years ago, most of what we had on the stand would have been individual components, whereas now we have 250 solutions. We don't have any individual components at all. So what we're doing is we're taking these very complex devices and we're making life easier for the engineer to design with them, and that's meant that we've invested both in engineering services capability and in software and hardware design capability, and we produce a lot of reference platforms to enable a customer to get going quickly, whether they then adopt that into their hardware wholesale or whether they then cut and paste from it. They can go either way, but we just enable them to get to product quicker.
That's very much in line and tandem with the silicon vendors. They're producing their reference platforms, moving up the value chain, so I think Arrow is doing something very similar.
I think we have a very unique advantage, is that if you think of it from a silicon vendor's point of view, they have a very limited portfolio. What we have is we have the entire range of technologies. So when we're producing a reference platform, we're able to take the best of the best from technologies from different suppliers, then combine them and overlay the software capabilities on top of that. And we have a very wide ecosystem of partners with expertise in different areas that we can pull in as well. So I think we can make a more comprehensive and complete solution to some of these technologies.
Excellent. So can you actually give me one or two examples of things that you've done to, or maybe either the platforms or some examples of customer use cases?
Yeah, I think a really nice example for this week is there's been a whole load of new product introductions announced in the last couple of weeks. Whenever there's a show, these things always tend to build up. And with a number of those, we've actually been ready within days of the product announcement, because we've been working with the silicon vendors to have platforms which are ready to enable customers not just to say, wow, that's a great chip, I want to work with it, but where do I start, to us actually be able to put something in their hands to do that. One example would be the NXP i.MX8, and we've produced two different platforms there, and we've used our own in-house engineering services capability from eInfo chips to design those. We've used devices from around a dozen different suppliers to put those boards together, and it's meant that at the show we're able to have working boards which are demonstrating the i.MX8, one which is very specifically aimed at machine learning in the edge, which is a really exciting thing to have. So our software team in Gdansk has actually written an application for crowd counting, which we're demonstrating on the booth. So from an MPI within days for a customer to be able to say, wow, that's a great thing, to actually be pointed to our booth and come and actually see the thing in action, that's very, very powerful.
That's interesting. You can actually say we had X number of visitors at the booth.
Exactly. And it means that people are steering visitors to our booth as well, because they say, right, we make the chip, but if you want to go and see a working solution, then go along and see Arrow.
So, I mean, what would be a key message you want to give to viewers of this video, just to understand where Arrow sits in this?
I would just say it's very much about total solution. You know, we talk about ourselves as being a technology platform provider, and that means that we can cover all aspects from the design, right from the ideation stage, in fact, all the way through the design, through the production, and even into the disposition piece. And that covers all aspects, whether it's hardware, whether it's software, whether it's cloud, whether it's connectivity services.
David, thank you.
No, thanks, Nick.